Ooh, wrong page. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of 5th Edition Dungeons and Dragons Descent into Avernus, where everything goes interesting. So, yes, hi.
Hi.
So let's do some introductions, and then we'll get on into the recap, and then we'll start the adventure, or continue it rather. So we'll start in the top right there. Kashcah.
Yep, hi, I'm DM for this campaign.
All right.
That's
it. Fair enough. And then straight down and to the left, we have playing as Malvola.
Hello, I am Nightcaste. I'm playing Malvola. I'm kind of out of it today because I didn't get a lot of sleep, so please forgive me.
Just a type of character that you're playing would be good.
He's a warlock, hexblade. He's also a dragonborn, so
there we go. Perfect. Top notch. And then next to the sleepy Malvola, we have playing as Coyra.
Hi, I'm Shy. I'm playing as Coyra, a half-elf druid. And I'm not sick anymore, unlike last time.
Yeah. This is IRL, not talking about in-game, folks. And then next to Coyra, we've got Grimm.
I'm NobiGit, however you want to. Anyway, I'm playing Grimm, a shifter monk, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise known as Grouchy Pants. At least supposedly.
And then next to him, we have playing as Thorn.
Hi, I'm Ghostwoods, and Thorn is an elven gloomstalker ranger, and I'm running on not much sleep as well. So expect Thorn to be even madder than usual.
Oh no!
Oh boy!
shit! You're all gonna
die. And
I always expect that.
I'm Vallen. I will be playing as Palkas, a wild magic sorcerer. And yeah, let's get into the recap. We've got last episode 14, Mama Van Thamper. As per usual, it started off with Thorn provoking and an interchange conversation. Basically tried killing someone. Duke Van Thamper, and she fled, pushing people out of the way. But she was quickly put down in the process of trying to flee. Thus, her being one of those orchestrating the disappearance of an entire city into one of the rings of hell. Grimm smashed her altar that was displaying an angel-shaped flame above it. We moved on to tell Amric, who we left hanging in the meat locker, and he revealed a vault holding Thavius Krieg, the High Overseer of El Terrell. We opened the vault and found the man, though something was not right, and he had the shadow of a devil. Rhea was confused by this and hesitant to follow his commands, who previously, this was the man she was looking for. And she did not want to hurt him, though, either. We questioned him, but things did not seem to add up, yet we couldn't find fault, short of the shadowy strangeness going on. At this, we decided to split the party up. Thavius insisted on leaving immediately, and did so with Rhea and Coyra in tow. Malvola had been contacted secretly by a shield hanging on the wall in the vault, which he then took. Grimm proceeded to investigate more of the unexplored sewers. Thorn and Palkas looted the coffers of the vault and moved to catch up with the others to find that Thavius had freed Amric, and strangely did not hold any ill will on him, even though he was the guy that imprisoned him. Strangely. Thorn loosed an arrow into Thavius from quite a distance, while Palkas, at the same time, attempted to recapture Amric. Thavius fled until he ran into Grimm, who healed him and found that Thavius claimed that he had been held to study the shield Malvola had ended up claiming, and secretly talks to mentally, by the way. Palkas caught Amric. The others caught up. Grimm told of another room he had found, and Amric said it was a prison with prisoners. Palkas had Emmerich lead him to the prison alone, where he set the prisoners free, and badly bluffed a bearded devil, but with Emmerich agreeing, he was able to escape with the prisoners, and no battle ensued. As it turns out, those prisoners were Satyr Theon Hun, relation to a Duke of Baldur's Gate, and Fallister Fisk, who knew of the Book of Fragments after being prompted by Thorn, and suggested we talk with one of his friends by the name of Sylvia Savicus, who resides in Candlekeep. Sylvira is searching for and believes a puzzle box contains the contract between Thavius Krieg and a devil, and is proof of his treachery. Meanwhile, Thavius escaped. The party decides to leave this wretched place and head out to Elfsong Tavern to recuperate and discuss their next steps. Quite a lot happened last episode, if only in plot, if not in action. So, it is all in the quest log, because I'm sure many people will need to go back to this to figure out what the heck just happened. So, episode 15 on Candlekeep. Kashcah?
Yep, so when we left off, everybody was kind of congregated in the cellar and thinking about moving the conversation actually to the Elfsong Tavern.
Mm-hmm.
And Valasta is in favour of that. The other person that's there, hang on. I need to remember her first name.
Is that Satyr?
It is Satyr. Yeah,
Oh,
thank
Satyr.
you. She is.
It's in chat. That's the only reason I remember.
Oh, if only I could remember what I wrote down. She's kind of she expresses that she's not interested in joining you. She says this has been quite an ordeal, and I'm going to return to my family home. If you'll escort me to a safe place, then I can, hail the necessary from there. And then the other person that's down and halfway down in the cellar, completely torn about what to do, is Rhea. She's standing on the stairs. And as you're talking, she comes back down the stairs and says to the group, look, I know we were having some disagreement about my Lord Overseer Krieg. She says, as much as I would like to help him at the moment, I think it's more important that I prove that we find proof of his true nature, whether it be, what I hope it is, that he simply had a ridiculous curse put on him by the Van Thampers, or whether it be that that you are what you're telling me is in fact true, and there's something more sinister going on. She says, so I would like to stay with you while we uncover this proof.
Well, come back to the Elfsong.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Let's
Hopefully,
just get the hell out of here.
Mr. or whatever the appropriate title is, Fisk, can open this puzzle box, and then we can find the answer one way or the other.
That may require somebody. I don't know if he can open it or his friend can open it.
She kind of nods her head at this, but stays quite quiet aside from that. Yeah.
I can't remember. Did Slobberchops decide to come with us?
He is still on your shoulders.
Okay. I'll let him make up his mind as I start heading up the stairs.
Okay.
I want out of this wretched place.
Shall we exit the way we came in, or through the stables?
We're right here at the stairs. Might as well go out this way.
All right. We should be cautious in case the watch is out. We don't know who they've paid in order to keep this place under surveillance, if at all.
It's worth being careful.
Okay, let's go.
Okay. So you're heading back up the same way that you came down. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna bother well, unless you really want to, taking your tokens back up through the villa. Yeah, I mean, is there anything else you want to do, I guess, while you're in the villa? Before you leave the premises?
Maybe a quick pilfer of the kitchen, but that's about it.
I think we already did.
Yeah.
We could set fire to it. Just spitballing.
I've been waiting for that one. Although, we'll admit, the thought did cross my mind. It would hide the bodies, but apparently the bodies have been cleaned up, so... Then we do want to give the Flaming Fist, the guard, a chance to be able to get to where Palkas left Amric.
That's true, we do.
Palkas also says, I think setting a fire would be a bad idea. It may end up going to other houses in this area, and as much as I may not enjoy nobility or those that are of great fortune, I despise needlessly putting people's lives at stake like that.
I agree.
I think we should just leave.
I agree. I mean,
Because
I just wanted to make sure you at least thought about it.
as much as I hate all the dead wood here, I agree, it shouldn't burn.
So, what are you just kind of strolling out the front door? Like, hey, we just totally killed them all and looted the place. And
I'm more interested in kind of slipping out as unnoticed as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, what time
But
of
that's
day
me.
is it?
Yeah, what?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
oh my god, now math.
You don't have to math it, you could just say.
Wait, hang on.
Well, it's
Roll a
not
die.
like we ever got much of a rest.
We got interrupted after about 4 hours in the first rest.
Yeah.
And then we never really got a chance for second, so it's a couple of hours after that spot.
Mm-hmm.
But what time was that? I mean, that must have been, I guess, lunchtime-ish?
Yeah, I think you can see as you kind of come up the stairs, the light coming through the window is like is sunset kind of, getting towards twilight. Not too much light in the sky. So yeah, it's going to be dark out quite quickly.
Makes it easier to slip out. One would hope.
is the house still apparently?
What was that? Sorry, I missed the last bit.
Does the house still seem to be vacant? Like, have people shown up since we went down?
No, it still seems to be vacant. Like,
I suggest that we stay here until full dark. We've got it's a comfortable house. We've got plenty of provisions. I mean,
Satir,
just so that
Satir will decline. She says, I
I
spent too many hours locked here to linger any longer.
We should accompany her. Just in
Yes,
case.
while I agree with you, it would be smarter to wait until nighttime. The longer we wait, the further away they get.
Well, since we're planning on resting for the night at Elf Song, it's possible they'll be getting further away regardless of what we do.
So you're
Yeah.
kind of having this discussion in the kitchen, so you can also help yourself to a sandwich or whatever while you.
Well, that's yeah.
Sorry, Palkas.
I forgot what I was going to say.
Sorry.
That's right. There's something to do with something in his inventory. I'm trying to remember now. Oh God, it's not there. I can't. No. Oh, there it is. Yeah. He'd point to Rhea. Luke, you are my. He'd point to Rhea and say, "Well, you're Flaming Fist now, aren't you?" As he kind of like, sarcastically says it to her since he gave her the Flaming Fist badge.
She kind of gets this look on her face like she just ate something that tastes really bad.
And he says, "Can't we just leave with that?" Or lead with that, rather.
Yeah. We have this noble lady who can attest we rescued her from a den of absolute evil. So that'll help.
I still think we should try to leave by the most
Sure. But,
secretive means possible.
Let us combine all the potential advantage one big advantage basket thing.
I like your advantage basket idea. Is there a back entrance to this place?
You have seen that there was a door kind of by the dining room that led out onto like a porch area, and you think that was kind of like the back entrance. So yeah, that led out onto kind of that back porch area, and then you do know that there's like a perimeter kind of wall around it. But there also seemed to be like a stables back there, so presumably there was some kind of, way for, well, yeah, maybe there was more other ways for people to exit that wall. The perimeter wall, I mean.
Let's try to leave by anything but the main gate.
There is a back door by the stables.
Let's leave through the back door by the stables.
Okay, so you head kind of into the hallway, this big grandiose hallway where the stairs went up, where there was that wax sculpture of Mama Van Damper, and
That thing is still creepy.
yeah. Especially now that you've bludgeoned her to death or however she died.
Yeah, Thorn, if you want to set fire to something, set fire to that.
No, because that will take out the entire house. It's wax.
Well, I mean, at least, heat it up enough to melt it.
Yeah, it'll look so much less creepy with a melting hell face.
I thought she already had that on her.
She does, huh?
Let's just get out of this place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So you exit the back door onto this like veranda kind of porch fancy thing. It's like got these 3 columns, and you can see that directly off of there actually is another set of kind of back or gates through the perimeter wall. They're pedestrian sized gates, so you can slip quite easily out of those. Don't seem to be that far away from the back porch, and the shadows are growing longer as the sun is setting, and yeah, I mean, could be darker, but you still feel like you've got a fair amount of cover.
Now, are we trying to be regular sneaky or Palkas sneaky?
Palkas will be expertly sneaky today.
Oh boy.
Alright, if you're sneaking, give me some stealth rolls, please.
Some sneak 'em rolls.
Yes. Oh wow. You
There you
guys
go.
lose track of where Grimm is.
Palkas
He's
is super sneaky.
1 minute he's there,
like I
next
said.
minute it's shadows.
Only the shadow knows. Yep, that's typical. Oh, ouch.
Yeah,
And I am the
Malvola's been
decoy.
Malvola's been taking stealth lessons from Palkas.
Mistakes were made.
He's the only one wearing like heavier armor.
So yeah, you as a group, you're not particularly stealthy. But there doesn't seem to be kind of anybody in the grounds of the villa paying attention. So yeah, you open kind of these secondary pedestrian gates, and can slip out onto the street and in amongst the regular traffic with great ease. And could everybody actually make a perception check for me, please?
Oh boy.
I found it.
Thorn, you know all, you see all.
Wow.
So Thorn, you definitely see that that Satyr is kind of like she keeps looking at Malvola. Perhaps more specifically at the shield that he's carrying.
Okay.
Who's looking at?
Satyr Hune, the noble.
Palkas might have noticed it, but then thinks that it's because the noble thinks he's pretty.
With the two, no, you don't.
No, that's what thinks he's.
Oh, that's
thinks he's
why you
pretty.
have the
yeah.
If I can, I will quietly warn Malvola of these attentions.
Okay. I really doubt she's going to like do something.
Because she might send a lot of minions after you, or set forces of law and order of some sort on you. Or, I mean,
We are the forces of law and order. We have badges.
We are the law.
That.
Sorta.
yeah, kind of, sorta.
I am the law.
There is no order here.
I am the law.
No, so that if I suddenly stab her through the neck, you know what?
I don't think that will be necessary.
Thank you for the advice.
I feel the Ben Solo shrug. Yeah, so but she'll take her leave as soon as you're kind of beyond the gates. She says and I'm sure you can understand. I don't wish to linger. I'm in great need of recuperation. So I will leave you now, but if there's anything my family can do for you, please don't hesitate to call on us.
Good luck.
And with that, she kind of hustles off down the street a little bit, and you see her go a short ways, and then she hails a carriage, and
I imagine now she's like,
and is quickly attended to. So.
Ah, the noble life.
So, yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Head off to Elfsong. I mean, we're all pretty
And
tired as
hopefully
it
a
is.
night of rest.
We want to get out of here.
Yeah. So, it's like another world. Again, you're kind of just, and you've been cooped up in this, these sewer tunnels, and, the encampment beneath the villa, for quite a while, and you're just hit with the hustle and bustle of the city. Some of you are used to that activity, but it is heightened just still people are in a complete panic about what to do. You still see people who appear to have their entire belongings on the back of a cart, who look like they're ready to exit Baldur's Gate. There's still kind of flaming fist roaming around, especially once you get into kind of the lower part of the city. And here, actually, I can move you onto the city map. Maybe that makes a bit more sense now. And yeah, once you get to the lower part of the city, there's plenty of flaming fist muscle patrolling around as well, kind of indiscriminately, picking on people and hustling people as well. So lots of shady business going on there. But you can either kind of walk across, or if you want to hail a carriage for a small fee, you could get transport across as well.
But given the amount of platinum and gold that Palkas might be lugging
I don't know
around,
if we can afford it.
yeah, I think maybe it's safer to walk through the streets of Baldur's Gate, carrying huge treasures and an incredible golden shield.
Do you have that out in the open, by the way, Malvola?
We've got.
Oh.
Oh man.
It's not like it fits in a pocket.
I know. I just didn't know if you got any kind of.
I'm walking like holding it over my head, like say anything. No, it's like on my back, but it's not like I'm brandishing it. But it's not like hidden here.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna draw some attention.
Yeah, so carriages, I think.
Okay. Yeah, after a few tries, you can hail, a carriage to take you the rest of the way across the city and deposit you at Elfsong, and your driver will ask for a silver for that service.
I got it. I give him 2.
Oh,
and
big
thank him.
spender. Hey, big spender. So yeah, Elfsong, you arrive. It is by the time you get there, the sun has set and there is plenty of activity in the tavern. It seems like happy hour, It's like you've arrived just at the the most predominant or highest traffic time of day.
Try to procure ourselves some rooms.
Yeah. It's like hustle and bustle, big deal. I want rest.
At least one room for each of us, as there's 5 in our party plus 2 and a bit. Little fuzzy winged bit.
Yep, he is still with you.
He's keeping my neck warm.
So then enough beds for 7.
Yeah. So you can see Alan, the proprietor, front and center as usual. And when you approach him, he says, yeah, business. He says, business in the tavern is good. He says, but as far as people staying, he says, the city is in this strange mood, and he says the rooms that you had before have not been taken, so he says they are yours.
Okay. How much? I don't remember.
How many rooms did you have?
We had 5 before. 5 or... Yeah.
Did you have that many rooms?
Yeah,
I thought there was only a couple.
I thought we only had 2 or 3.
Yeah.
If I recall correct, I was in a room with Palkas.
Yeah, I think you had like 2. So he said,
Yeah,
he says you can have
something
the
like
same 2.
But we'd probably want at least another one.
Yeah. If we count the NPCs.
He says, yes, that could be arranged.
Okay. How much was it again?
It'll be, he says it'll be a silver for the night.
Okay. Per room or?
Per room, yeah.
Okay. So then he'd give him gold and say, like to get some food as well and
a bath.
yeah. Food and access to a bath, perhaps. And you can keep what's left.
A bath? You'd think we'd been in a sewer or something.
Yeah, he says, well, I can arrange for a bath to be brought up to your room. He says, there's only one, so perhaps you can make it work between...
Yep.
So,
See, we can go visit that bathhouse.
That's what I was thinking.
No.
I'm like, wait a minute, I know somewhere we can go. And it's under new management now, so...
You mean the dead body storage facility?
Mhm.
Yes, the cultist stew.
Philastus kind of like is looking at you, waiting to see what you're going to do. He's like, did you want to take a bath first? He looks a bit kind of bewildered, like.
Well, while they're preparing that, we can maybe have a look at this box and take care of bits and pieces.
Yeah, we can sit down, have
Oh,
some,
wow.
have some food,
We
unload our stuff.
might not want to do that in the public areas of the...
No, in one of the rooms. We can
Yeah.
talk about stuff.
Unless we sort of commandeer that upper portion.
There's still be people listening downstairs and someone can carry the...
So he gives you keys to the rooms, and he says he gives you two kind of ordinary looking keys, and then one key has a slightly fancier top to it, like it's a little bit scrolled. He says, well, here's the two rooms that you had before. He says, and this is the other room that I've got. He says, it's the only other one that because the last room has been occupied for quite a while by Her Majesty, but he says, but this one is very nice, so he'll kind of hand those to you,
Her Majesty.
and says, he kind of directs you to the rooms. He says these two are at the top of the stairs. This one is, over to the left. So it gives you directions to the rooms.
Palkas would say Her Majesty.
He says, yes, our long-term guest.
Coyra is also looking questioning.
He says,
What?
Isn't
Majesty.
that the one that
Which
is that
one?
the one that our former companion disturbed? Or was that somebody a different guest?
Thought that room was someone that worked here.
Yeah, I think it was the owner's room.
I don't remember.
Which royalty is here?
He says, probably already said more than I should, so we'll just leave it at that. Thanks very much.
Let's just go upstairs.
Yeah.
Like I said, all right.
If the
Can you have our
nicer
fruits?
room is a little bigger, let's use that for discussions.
That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Can we have the food brought up to our room in a half hour?
He says, do you want the bath before or after that?
An hour after.
Okay, so food, then bath. He says, yep. I'll let them know.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you head upstairs, and sure enough, two of the rooms are very kind of tight quarter, ordinary rooms. Not much space there, but the one with the fancy key is in fact a fancy room, and is kind of a bit more luxurious. There are velvet curtains and framed paintings of ships and a canopied bed, and Philastus says, "Oh yes, this will do nicely," as he walks in.
Doesn't sound like room for Coyra. Paintings of dead wood.
And actually, off to the west, there's a little kind of private dining area attached to this room, and it has kind of a round table with half a dozen chairs in a row. So, yeah.
A dumb waiter?
No.
That seems like a perfect meeting room to me.
Yeah.
We just rented out some office space. Let's go in there and unload our stuff. And talk about this box.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Philosofisk, are you handing him the box, or?
I don't know. Am I handing him the box? Because I'm the one that's got it in my pack.
I think so.
I'll just pull it out and put it on the table.
Okay.
Tell us about it.
He picks it up and looks at it and says, yes, he says, this is exactly what I've been sent to Baldur's Gate to find. He says, my friend, Savakis. I think I mentioned her when we were back at the villa. She is a sage, resides in Candlekeep, and she's a very good friend of mine. She's been monitoring the activity in Baldur's Gate and Elturel for months. He looks at Rhea and says, sadly, she is suspected that your overseer has been in some contract with an archdevil for a while now, and she is now convinced of this, and this puzzle box, I suspect, will confirm it. He says, as much as I wish I could, I do not have the skill to open this box, but Silvira definitely does. Not only can she open it, but I'm sure she's willing to pay for this box in gold or magic items. She is certain that this box contains a copy of the contract that Thavius Krieg signed with this archdevil. And the reason I'm here to find it is to help her obtain proof of these crimes.
How did she obtain such skill to open a devil's contract box?
He says she is a very experienced, competent sage. He says she is capable of significant, magic. She has great skill in that area, and she has, in fact, made puzzle boxes like this before herself. He says, of course, they're never used for hers. Are never used for contracts with devils, as far as she knows. He says, I suggest we take this box to Candlekeep.
Very well. Would I know where Candlekeep is from here? Like a day, a week, a month?
Ooh, I have another map. There we go.
I'm a Baldur's Gatian.
It's very... Oh, there.
I'm a Baldurian.
Hang on. Yeah, but it takes a sec to depixelate.
That's a great map, but that doesn't give me any sense of distance.
I think
it's
I
see
well, there's a scale at the bottom, which...
I see it now. Sorry.
So it looks like about 150 miles.
Looks like.
A few days or so.
It says, yes, he says, usually when I walk it, it's 5-day travel.
Okay.
You walk it by foot, or do you have some kind of, like a horse?
He says, which time? He says, this is a familiar road to me.
You got a point.
It's likely to be littered with many refugees that are being turned away.
It's also true.
He says, that's possible. He says, but Candlekeep does not accept visitors so lightly. He says, there is a fee to enter Candlekeep, which perhaps you're not aware of. He looks around the room, and is he seeing kind of blank faces regarding this fee?
Do go on.
Is this like
Thorn
a
will nod
monetary
at that.
fee or?
And he says it's a book. The fee is a book that they don't have. He says, Candlekeep is you could think of it as a city of libraries, and the fee to enter this place is a book that they don't have.
Well,
we picked up a few books.
we have 3 spell books.
He says, I'm sure one of those would do.
Then I have 3 volumes of Duke Van Thamper's personal diary, guaranteed unique.
He says, that will also do. He kind of raises an eyebrow, and he's stroking. He's got this like scarlet coloured goatee, and he kind of strokes that a little.
So
I've got a copy of the Lusty Argonian Maid.
I was waiting for that.
Okay, so it looks like we should go to Candlekeep. The question is there anything we ought to do before we leave here?
I'm kind of wondering how, because from what I understand, they were not letting people leave the city. Like, if you got in, you were stuck in.
Which means
I may
we're
have
going to have to talk to Captain What's-His-Name, probably, to get out.
Velastor nods at this. He says, I had a difficult time entering. He says, and that was a few days ago. My understanding is that, will only have become worse since I've been imprisoned. He says, if you have a contact, then we should use them.
Oh, we are.
I have an idea.
Sort of Flaming Fist members.
Yeah, conscripted.
Yeah.
But another possibility that may kind of grease the wheels. No, because I don't want to do something blatantly dishonest. Now that I was thinking we could offer to, okay, we're going to shepherd this group of refugees away from the city, and that might convince them to let us leave, but then we're stuck with the shipment of refugees that we don't have somewhere to get rid
Well, Palkas and I are smugglers.
We go
I'm
way
fairly
back.
confident we can find a way out.
Of course, in my opinion, just go over the wall.
We could try to subtly leave Baldur's Gate through our contacts, or we could try to do it through official means, through the Flaming Fist channels. I don't know if more people knowing is better or worse.
Velastor says, isn't there somebody you need to tell about what you found underneath the Van Thamper villa?
And I'm sure some sellswords saying that they found the Van Thamper family behind the disappearance of Elturel, especially them being nobles and us being, well, commoners. I doubt that we would be taken too seriously, though it could be if told to the right people.
Our job was to stop the cultists from grabbing and killing random members of the city. We've done
And
that.
since we've kind of rooted it out more or less completely, I'd say we talk to Captain What's-His-Name, the one who conscripted us, and then see where things go from there. If we can't get out with his help, we find another way.
Rhea says, and you
Much
did...
as I don't want to talk to him.
Rhea says in a small voice, and we did promise that man that we would tell the city guard about him.
Yes,
Ooh,
we do
Amric?
need to mention Amric. Yeah.
With that,
Oh, right.
somebody would speak up at this point. That would probably be Palkas saying, oh, he's actually got a guard in there with him who will set him free.
But do we really want him free to run around?
It's
We're
already
leaving
too late.
Baldur's Gate. Who cares?
We've left that area.
I'm
sure there's-
saying if we let the captain know, maybe he'll do something.
There's a knock on the door, and food is delivered.
Wow, half hour already.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll
We-
share
we
some
could
of my
definitely
food with my neck warmer.
Yeah.
He's quite selective.
Well, I'm figuring he'll want meat type,
Mhm. And cheese.
which ironically is the same thing I want, but
So, Flaming Fist or Secret Paths? As Amrek he's free on his own. We don't need to set him free.
let's try Flaming Fist first.
Yeah, we should try the flame of this.
I'd rather try doing it officially.
Then I think we should get our stories straight and figure out just how much we want to reveal.
Rhea says, if we don't tell them, it will look like we're running from the scene of a crime and implicate us even more, surely.
And probably look like we're part of it.
Yes,
No.
but have you ever seen how the flaming fish? Oh, you're reporting it? You must be guilty.
She says, I've certainly seen their handiwork around the city. Had
Well, yeah, she's been
Close
following
and-
us for a week.
I had a close encounter with it when I first arrived.
I mean, I don't disagree. I'm just saying that, don't expect too much more than, some grunts and occasional punch.
Of course, before we tackle any of that, rest is
Yeah.
urgent.
Big time.
Well, we eat, we drink, we be merry, we bathe,
We bathe.
we bed.
Okay. Is there, well, I guess, is there anything else anybody would like to do during the course of the evening?
I don't know that there are going to be shops open during this time of night. So, no purchases during the nighttime. Perhaps tomorrow on the way. Might get distracted briefly or head out early. Something like that. While we're finishing up for the evening, we discussed the box, we ate food, and so on. Palkas would take whatever monies he had gathered, and he would divide it amongst the 5 of us, and then he'd say, do with it as you see. It's not my business. If you do not want it, I will tend to make sure it gets to those that need it. And
Coyra just looks at Palkas and is like, keep it.
okay, so hold on 1 second here. Let's see just how much we got. 2, 6, 2, 8 divided by 5 equals. Total, that would be around 525.5 gold pieces each for the 5 of us.
Very nice.
Coyra
So
still
you said
insists.
500 what?
525.6 gold pieces. It's break it up as you want. So it's 525 gold pieces and 6 silver. There you go.
Coyra still insists that you keep it.
Okay.
And she says, I still owed you. A little bit. First time you paid for me. When we were here. I owed. Slightly less, but I don't need it where I come from.
And he just kind of nods. Anybody else? Everybody else taking theirs?
I will take my share.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll take mine for the moment.
Okay. Grimm?
Grimm will take it, but slip out in the middle of the night and leave a 500 gold piece deposit at the Temple of
mm-hmm. All right.
Okay.
Times 2 equals...
There's going to be some very surprised monks in the morning.
It's a very drunk monk by lunch.
Maybe. It wouldn't take very much of that to accomplish that.
By the way,
You
if
can
you
bless
need,
the rocks and the tree.
if you need to convert it, about 2/3 of that was actually in platinum instead of gold. So it's actually, less coins. So there you go. So what? 1,051. That's 51. Okay.
Now the big question is, do we actually get a full night's rest? A long
Yeah.
rest.
Yeah, you do. Unless you
Literally-
count Palkas' snoring.
Well, I'll probably bed down in the fancy room with Fallister, as
Coyra
in, like,
just
grab a piece of floor and
Coyra doesn't mind
Slobberchop sleep
sharing.
wherever.
Okay.
Like Coyra doesn't mind sharing a room with Palkas. I mean, she has heard worse noises in the wilds. But before she goes to bed, she takes out her pipe and it's like, I need some bubbles.
Thorn doesn't actually need a bed at all. He's just happy sitting in a corner somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, basically Coyra doesn't mind sleeping on the floor, so Palkas can have the bed. She just takes the blanket she found and just to keep her warm.
There is like a nice comfy armchair for you, Thorn, in the fancy room. If you
Okay, that sounds great. That sounds very civilized.
Just no stabbing anybody in the middle of the night.
I'll try.
It's just a reflex for him at this point. We wake him up
Wow,
from
you
the
guys
we wake him
are
up from the next room over.
Stab!
Time to wake up! Don't hurt me! From behind a closed door, around a corner.
Yeah.
Don't shoot me again. Palkas would smell like a bit of like maybe violets or something like that at this point from washing. Feeling good.
floral scented Palkas.
Mm-hmm. Best kind of Palkas. And come morning, Palkas would say, he's going to head out and do his some charity work, as he kind of has some money, and he says he'll be back before lunchtime. He figures that we could probably head out after that. For those that are cool, meet here around midday.
Do we really want to get that late of a start?
Well, he said
It's
it
not
would
going to make much
it'll
difference.
take him a few hours to get done what he needs to get done.
This trip is going to take a week.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Actually, no, because in Forgotten Realms, it's called a 10-day, and it's 10 days. So
You're right.
Quick question, a long rest resets everything?
mhm.
Yeah. You're back to full
Okay.
spells, full hit points, full hit dice, etc., etc., etc.
All the tricks.
Yay.
I can transform again.
If it's
So can I.
possible, Thorn would like to upgrade from leather to studded leather.
I'm sure that's possible.
Look out, Mr. Big Spender.
Oh, yeah, totally. I mean, until I find some sort of theoretical elven chain or something, which I don't know even exists in the realms, that's as good as it gets, I'm afraid. That's maximum bling.
So eventually, that's what I'd like to do.
Oh boy.
But you don't
It
It
have
was
to
worth
do that
more
now.
than the
I've got a shopping list.
Hey.
Oh boy.
And it's all around page 137 in the future.
All right.
Like I said, you can look at it later.
There's got page references.
Anyway.
Hang on, let me just have a look
He's
at this.
cheating. He's
Hey,
bribing.
Can you afford all
In that
this?
case, since everybody's going shopping, I think Grimm's going to sit around the tavern,
Coyra is just
And-
still snoring away.
sort of
Mhm.
pull out his leather working tools and start working on sort of a makeshift perch
Mhm.
for Slobberchops. Basically, a leather shoulder piece.
Very fancy.
For Coyra, it's quite easy. She will wake up really easy if you just poke her, but from sounds and stuff, she doesn't really wake up, so she's just still lying in the room, happily as ever.
Blowing bubbles in her sleep.
I can imagine that.
Wrong thing.
So this will take all of your coin.
I have some of those items to trade. Would I be able to have a little bit left?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So, Palkas tries to distribute a little bit to some of the poor folk along the way.
All right, Robin Hood.
And then meet back up with the rest of the people. I get the lights back.
I don't know how to go about this in this city. I would like to get that mace.
The mace. Sorry, identified. Is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because all I could tell him is, yeah, it's magical.
Okay. Yeah. You're able to do that while Palkas is out and about. You find actually you find that service at a temple. And,
Okay.
For a donation of like 25 gold, they will identify that for you.
Oh, excellent.
And they identify that for you. Hang on. Let me just, I'm pretty sure I remember it correctly, but I do just want to double check.
It has a trigger. Casting Identify causes an explosion.
Boom.
It pulls the entire city into Avernus.
That's how we
Oops.
Yeah, so they identify it as a +1 mace.
What is a
Nice
plus
indeed.
1 mace?
So it means he gets +1 to any of his damage and attack rolls with that while he's swinging that mace. But more importantly, well, I think more importantly, there's some creatures that just resist like normal damage. And if you're attacking them with like a magical weapon like this +1 mace, then they take regular damage from it.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's kind of handy.
The
like
party
that.
has obtained its
Yep.
first magical item.
Da 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 da.
You found the boss map. No, dang it.
Not again.
But all I've got is a +1 mace.
Oh yeah, I also needed some more arrows. I'm
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
pick that up at the same time as well.
Yeah, for sure. No problem.
I guess the night before, Palkas would have put out the 2 broken dagger pieces as well, to see if anybody knew what the significance of that was. They were the 2 ivory-looking daggers, if I'm not
God.
mistaken.
Yeah, if Coyra actually offered up, then if you want to, she can try to repair him.
Hang on, I gotta find. Yeah. So if you're thinking of using your mending spell, is that? Yes, you can certainly do that, and it does repair the pieces into a whole dagger.
All right. And he.
Was that the one that was like ivory or something like that?
Yeah.
Yes, it was
Okay.
room V36. But he'd just have it on the table for anybody that wanted to use it, take it, whatever, because he had no use for it.
Yep, it does have it's a curved ivory blade, and it does bear draconic runes. Along with
What
a
did they say?
along with a bone hilt that's wrapped in leather strips and studded with gemstones. The draconic runes say fang.
Okay.
That's almost as good as Sting. Would anybody want that?
Not me.
Then with that, I guess Palkas would hand it to Fisk and say, "Here you go."
He says, "What do you intend me to do with this?"
Just
Seems
in
a little
case.
confused.
You never know when you might need it.
It may be useful to hang on to it.
He says, "I don't think this is really a battle-worthy weapon. This looks like it will break if I try to, defend myself with it."
But it's great for slicing sausages.
Yeah, I'm sure.
If Fisk doesn't want it, I'll just stick it in my pack.
Yeah,
Alright.
he says, "I suggest you keep this." He says, "It looks certainly like it's of worth, but not in the fight."
Right, I'm removing it from my
Okay.
thing here. And just for your reference, since you're taking it now, you need to put on there that it was V36.
If you ever want to know how much it was worth, then you need to write that.
Oh, Grimm, I found a holy symbol of Thorn. Is that of any use to you or to any people that you hang around with or anything?
I've got a holy symbol, but an additional one can be handy.
It's all yours.
Okay.
It just seems more fitting that it's at least some understanding that.
That was what, V36?
V as in very good.
Yeah. And let's see.
Philaster will, while he sees kind of money being handed around and whatnot, he will say, he will ask if he could bother one of you for a small loan in order to re-equip himself.
Question: did anyone
He says,
How much does it need?
He says, or I could take that dagger back and and make a profit.
Like, the bit with the dagger happened yesterday night, correct?
No, I think it's this morning.
I guess it'd probably be this morning.
Okay, then I've been poked awake. Good. Just so that I'm aware of my future.
He says,
No,
How
I
much
sent
do you need?
slobber chops in to wake you up.
I
That's
would.
totally fine. Best
You know, do
wake
that
up
whole
call ever.
mash thing that cats do.
Best wake up call ever for Coyra. An animal waking it up.
I would I'd be willing to take him with me to, while I'm running my errands, that he can get re-equipped.
okay. Yeah, he really just wants to buy a short sword. That's pretty much it.
Okay.
That's what, 15 gold or something?
Yeah, it's like 10 gold. Yeah.
Well,
Should
I gave him
be
10
surprised.
gold a while ago.
You did?
Yeah.
This is true.
Yeah.
He did. Because he was like, what am I going to do with this? Like,
Mhm.
buy your sword, you dingus.
I gave the two prisoners 10 gold, saying just in
Yeah.
case,
Oh gosh, okay.
here's some money.
Yeah, sorry.
See, Robin Hood did something good.
Then he wouldn't need to borrow the money, but he would accompany you on your trip to run errands and take advantage of that moment to buy himself a short sword.
Okay. I think I'm done, because I don't plan on actually using or doing anything with the stuff that I did here until probably next episode or something, because I still want to get the full stamp of approval from Kashcah. Not just the temporary one. And
I think it's fine.
okay.
Do what you want.
Okay. Then in that case, is anybody else doing anything before our midday meetup?
I am thinking about, we should have I was thinking that we should rent horses or buy them or something, if we can figure out how to arrange that, because this is
I just looked
Let's
up
see what we have to
weapons
get out
through-
first. If we have to, sneak under a
I
wall thing.
yes. I have a
Also,
feeling
that'd be a
beasts of
problem.
burden are going to be tough to come by with the current situation. They might be at a premium.
Yeah.
Nothing I necessarily want to do.
Oh, I picked up a set of panpipes somewhere. So, with an idle hour or two of the morning, I'll start practicing panpipes.
Okay.
By the way,
In which case, I make sure I'm in
They
a
had a
different
rat
room.
doodle on me.
Yeah.
Malvola, did you are you like just still carrying the shield around?
Well,
I did. Well,
I have it.
the only reason to metagame it, I didn't know if you had intended on getting that identified as well as the other item. Because I mean, I figured if you're taking your magic items to a place to get identified, you probably would remember that you have a big shield on your back.
Point. Yeah, I didn't think of that.
And the pipe. Might as well take the panpipes too.
I didn't know that.
Please.
I didn't even
take the
remember
pipes
those.
Too. I'll give you the 25 gold to get it identified. Please take the pipes with you.
Okay, I will take them with me.
They're just
Well, I don't
Or
know.
take Thorn and the pipes with you.
Is Thorn, you have the pipes. Are you,
I'm not even going to start tinkering with them until after I get back from buying some armor. I'm now gone.
Oh, so he's tinkering with them out. Okay, I'm good. Do it.
No, I'm coming back to the elf song, and there I'll start playing with these pipes. It'll be fine. They're panpipes. They're all through.
I mean, last time you said it will be fine, you ate one of those beans.
Yeah, that's fine.
And so far, nothing bad has come of that, as far as we can tell.
It was horrible, but education. And I didn't turn into a zombie or anything.
Yet.
Elves are very resistant to zombies.
Anyway,
I'm
just how awfully or well do you play those pipes?
Oh, awfully, I'm sure. But everyone has to start somewhere. And, you know, we're better than the elf song Tavern. I'm an elf. This is my song. Toot, toot, toot.
Suddenly, no more customers.
Toot toot pan flute. Alright.
But now we are well stocked on overripe vegetables.
Well, Thorn is. He's wearing most of them, but
It's convenient to carry. So I would like to get the shield identified as well.
Oh yeah, okay. So the monk that you're talking to, who is doing this identification for you, it starts. So he identifies the mace first, and then he looks at the shield and kind of looks a little bit disturbed or a little disconcerted by the shield itself, and kind of has some hesitation, but starts, concentrating on it. He's got his hands over it, concentrating on the shield, and then you see him like a shocked look come over his face, and he draws his hands back quickly, and he says, "This is beyond my understanding." He says, "I'm afraid I can't help you at this."
Okay, who would you recommend I like?
He says, perhaps a more powerful magic user? He seems a little
Yeah,
nervous.
that's kind of what I.
translation: anybody but me.
Yeah. Well, the other thing what's going through my head is that's kind of where we're going.
It's okay. It's just an evil god is imprisoned within the shield. You're fine. Just don't let anything touch it, and it'll be okay. Especially no hard, blunt objects. So.
Yes,
So-
it will be hard, sharp objects, I'm sure.
TLDR, keep Palkas away from it.
I'm sure there's absolutely no chance of it taking you over, anything like that.
It's fine.
It's fine.
These pipes, however. No, I wish. I'm trying to find them. I've lost. I don't suppose I gave you like a room reference or anything.
No.
I think those were in the house in Mama Van Thamper's room or something.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
want to say it's one of the things that they pulled out of the chest there.
Okay.
It could be. It's in that sort of area of my equipment list.
I think.
I thought.
I want to say it was in the house, and I want to say that's where it was because she was the only one that had much of anything.
One moment, caller.
Because Amric just had primarily clothes.
These are panpipes of the Sharknado. So.
Oh no!
Someone would be so happy.
That would be amazing.
Bye bye, Elfsong Tavern.
There they are. Yes, you have an excellent memory. Thank you very much for that.
I wish I had an excellent memory. I just got lucky on that one.
Okay. So as you're playing the pipes, Thorn, you do feel like there's some kind of magical energy like tugging at your consciousness, like but it's not there's nothing kind of like you're not quite sure what it does. There's nothing, no clues given away there. You feel like maybe if you attune to them, then you could have like a better idea of what what these pipes can do for you.
Yeah, attune to them. I'm sure it's not cursed.
I'll give it a try. Why not?
Okay.
I mean, it's just these random things I found in the cabinet of evil.
Weren't there rats
worshipper.
on,
I think rats are
inscribed
nice.
on it or something like
Coyra
that?
likes rats. It's got to be good.
Sniffles!
Sniffles.
You've got a sword and a helmet now.
Yeah.
Your sword and magic helmet.
I'm gonna put this item in your journal. Thorn.
I'm sure it's not like a lycanthropy, were-rat curse or something like that.
That'd be grand.
There you go.
That would be interesting,
Yeah.
to say the least.
So that should be available in your journal now for you to see.
Cat, rat.
Anytime he stabs
Yeah,
someone,
sounds
he
fun to
turns
me.
into a rat.
Oh, pretty.
Okay. Anything else you guys are doing before you head out?
I guess Palkas would say, I didn't think to gather a way of us moving about, but I did gather a bit of extra gear for us. And he pulls his sack out and he sets it on the table, since we'd all like probably gathered it there. Then he pulls out a hat. And what would you say it looks like?
I think you could.
Okay.
Feel free to embellish.
It kind of looks like it's made of fur, but it's not quite fur. It's just kind of fuzzy like that. Kind of a simple cap, if you will. And it looks deeper in the top of the cap than it is on the top. And he pulls it out and he slides that across the table to Coyra and says, "This is for you."
Coyra's looking at it like, and touching it just to make sure it's like not fur.
He says, "It's a hat. I think you'll like it." And then he reaches down. He reaches down in the bag and he pulls out a pair of simple leather shoes, if you will. They just seem like they're like you strap them across your feet. Very basic stuff. And he pulls these out and gives them to Grimm, and slides those over and says, "These should adjust to fit you. And if you work it, it should leave different tracks according to what you want it to."
Oh, neat.
Ah, cool.
It's appreciated, but you do realize I don't wear shoes.
He says, they're thin and light enough. I figured that you might adjust. Either way, I thought you might like them. You could use them in special scenarios if you want, but either way, they're yours.
For now, I'll tuck them into the pack.
Okay, they're called Boots of False Tracks.
Okay.
He then pulls out two last little things in his sack. One is a gemstone and the other is a key. And he slides the key to Thorn and the gemstone to Malvola. And
Thank you very much.
he says, "I've often used my Warhammer as a focus for my spells." And he looks at Malvola and says, "If you press this to your weapon for a short time, it will merge with it and allow you to do the same."
Wow.
And then he looks at Thorn and says, "Not that I think you need it, but there's always a chance this could open any door."
Thank you very much. A grand gift.
Mm-hmm.
What was the hat?
Yeah, I'm actually a little bit confused about that.
Real quick, for Malvola, it's a Ruby of the War Mage.
Okay.
Thorn, it's called a Mystery Key.
Awesome.
And Coyra, yours is called a Hat of Vermin.
This doesn't mean anything to me as a player.
He says, "If ever you feel lonely, reach into your hat."
Cool.
And there you go.
So you should be able to add that to your equipment list on your character sheet by like just pressing the plus button at the bottom to open up a new slot on there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to find my equipment.
Oh yeah, it might be in there. I don't know.
Yeah, I know the boots aren't, but
Oh, there it is. What is it called? Can you type it in chat really quick?
Yes. Yes.
I'm a big turp.
There you go. The boots require attunement.
Also,
I
quick
believe.
question.
Yes.
Can you DM me really quick on Discord or so what it did like again? Just so that I can remember.
Only what he's said so far.
Yeah. That's
Oh,
what I mean.
Gotcha.
Like, just that.
I'll put it here if you feel.
Yeah, I'll add it to my allies and organizations.
Reach into the hat. There you go. I spelled that terribly, but yeah, I think you understand. If you feel lonely.
Good enough to me.
Okay. All right, Santa Palkas.
Yeah, Santa
Something else up
Palkas.
the sleeve. So
And-
what's the plan?
Yeah, what is the plan?
we're gonna go talk to Captain. I can never remember his stinking name.
I think we should figure out who he is first.
Zodge.
That's the
Wasn't
guy.
Yeah, Zodge.
Okay. Was he the original guy that employed us, or was
Yes.
the person that he
Shanghaied
sent us
us.
to?
Dragooned us into service. Yeah.
Oh, Neil before Zodge thing. I remember.
So you would expect Captain Zodge to still be at the gate, the Basilisk Gate, which is where you found him originally and where he seems to be
Punching
kind
refugees.
of- Yeah. He's a nice guy like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like he's stationed there, so it's his job now.
Promotion. Refugee puncher.
If he punches enough refugees, he might get another promotion.
So yeah, you can easily kind of spot him. As usual, there's a fairly significant crowd at the gate. Quite a large number of Flaming Fist folks. And Captain Zodge is kind of standing kind of off to the side at the back of it, just kind of supervising. He's talking to one of his minions as you approach, and he sees you kind of out of the corner of his eye. Rhea she's got her hood up, she's staying at the back. She seems like she's like trying very hard to be swallowed by the earth, you know. And
the whole "you don't see me."
Yeah.
I don't see you, you don't see me.
Philaster will kind of linger towards the back of the group as well. But Zodge will see you and kind of like, you see him frown slightly for a second and kind of dismisses the guy that he's talking to, and we'll walk, we'll close the gap basically between you. So he says, I thought your job was done, but you seem to be back here to deliver more cultists to me? Did you find more?
Palkas would have made it clear that he
a couple
would not
dozen
be
underneath
here.
Van Thamper Manor.
His eyes get really big. Van Thamper Manor? Sorry, what's Palkas doing?
He would have made it clear he didn't want to talk during this conversation unless he needed to.
Okay.
Yeah, Coyra being awkward, she just stands around.
Yeah, turns out Duke Van Thamper was kind of like in charge of him.
He like frowns like heavily,
Although she wasn't worshipping. Well, these might have been slightly different cultists. They were
Zariel.
Yeah, she was worshiping Zariel, the Archduke of Avernus.
And as you're talking to him, sharing this information with him, your meeting is actually interrupted by the arrival of, what look like, and you see the Flaming Fist emblem on their gear, but they are clearly better equipped, better disciplined, and better trained, perhaps as well. These soldiers approach, and they're clad in plate armor. And from behind this wall of sword and steel steps an armored woman with a white cloak and greying hair. And I have a handout. Yeah, I love handouts. Here we go. Boop. Like this.
Why?
So she steps out from behind this line of, heavily armored soldiers, and says to Zodge, the maniacs who've stirred up every rat's nest in this god's forsaken city. And Zodge is like, oh shit. And he says, Commander Portyr, I was told you wouldn't be in Baldur's Gate for at least another 10 days. And she says, that's what the city's government wanted you to think, Captain. And then turning to the rest of the group, to you all, she says, I trust you've been adequately compensated?
Yes.
That's part of what we came here for.
And she kind of like dismisses Zodge. She like just waves him off, and and he just kind of like is like, what? Just how did I just get you? Like he seems a bit, oh yes, and like tries to recover, his dignity from being, just outranked completely, and goes back to kind of, talking to the guy he was talking to when you first approached. And she says, well, how can I help?
see if Amric is still in his prison cell under Devil Guard beneath Thamber Manor, and arrest him if he is. Keep an eye out for him if he isn't. That's about it, really.
She says, and why would I be keeping an eye out for Emmerich Van Thamper? She
Because
says,
he was helping his mother run the cult of the three whatevers.
Well, they were using the Cult of the Dead 3.
The Dead Three.
But they also had the cult that worshipped Zerial. And at least a couple devils that were working with them there underneath the Van Thamper Manor.
They had Fabius Krieg in a dungeon. They were trying to get him to provide information about some sort of artifact. And they had your Duke, whatever his name is, I forget. I've got it here somewhere.
Older Raven Guard?
Yes. They made sure he was in El Terrell when they sold it into Avernus.
She kind of like, you see her, like, as you're saying these things, like her eyebrow, you know, she gets arch eyebrow at some points, and she seems to be kind of processing the whole thing and taking it in, and she says,
Lady Satir, who provides you with independent confirmation of much of it. She was a prisoner of Van Thamper.
She says, well, she says, it's funny you mention her name because we have had a report from her. So, in fact, she has already provided your story with the much needed credibility that it requires for me to swallow. She says, so
we also rescued some commoners, but they wouldn't have much more credibility for you than there was a tax collector.
She says, please tell me why they were trying to get Grand Duke Older Ravengard to Elturel?
So that when Elturel was swallowed up by the Hells, he would be dragged down with it.
And I imagine it probably had something to do with destabilizing Baldur's Gate, so they could do the same thing with Baldur's Gate.
Or at least so that she could take over Baldur's Gate without any serious trouble, opposition.
She says, and Elturel, what is your plan regarding Elturel?
At the moment, we have to go to Candlekeep and conduct some urgent research to see if there are any ways the situation could be rectified. But as far as I know, it's just down in the head.
Actually, you're kind of expecting like some small like motion of surprise on her from that revelation, but she does not make any. And she says, she kind of thinks for a moment, and there's this kind of like silence in amongst the group while the rest of the chaos is happening in the background at the gates, and says, and then she looks at you all and says, you seem like you're, I take it you've all got like your gear with you and everything.
Mm-hmm.
She says, you seem like you're ready to travel right away.
Yes.
If you could speed us on our way, that would be very...
She says, that I can do. She says, my allegiance is entirely to Older Ravengard. She says, if there's any chance that you can return him to us, then it is a worthy cause.
If there's any hope, then I'm certain scholars of Candlekeep know what steps must be taken.
She kind of she snaps her fingers and motions to one of the soldiers that was kind of standing in the formation behind her, and says to him, they need. And she looks at you actually before she tells him what they need. She says, "Do you prefer riding horses or a pony and cart or?"
Coyra's eyes just get big up on hearing all of this. It's like, yay!
How do we feel about riding? Can we all ride? You must ride.
Mm-hmm.
I think that riding horses would be a better idea just because the road is likely to be clogged with traffic.
Mm-hmm.
That's an excellent point.
She says. Then she tells the soldier, 7 riding horses and tack, and she says, "Do you have supplies for the journey?"
Yeah, we're good, thanks.
Palkas actually says something at this point and says, "We need 1 book."
Oh, I have a book.
We have that covered.
We had 6.
Philaster will pipe up and say, 1 should be sufficient for the group.
Oh.
He says, "We don't need 1 each."
Then he just nods and stops.
So she says, "My man will return shortly with your horses." And he has scurried away, or clanked away, clank, 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 in his plate mail. So he's run off to try and find your horses. She says, "Do you have any idea where Thavius Krieg was going?"
He left in a hurry, but I have to warn you, he cast the shadow of a devil.
And that she looks like very surprised at. She says, "The situation becomes more desperate by the minute."
Coyra just out of the blue. Wait, the shadow was not. Darn it!
You saw the shadow, Coyra. It was a big, chunky devil with horns.
Yes, but I don't know how people do shadows. How am I supposed to know?
You've seen your own. It doesn't have horns and wings.
I mean,
Well,
sometimes
you
it
never
does.
You'll have to excuse our druid, she's a little fey.
Oh, God.
Commander Portyr has like 1 eyebrow arched. Really? And so she says, "Any of the other Van Thampas alive?" I know you mentioned Amric, but
Mortlock.
Mortlock, but he left the city because his mother was trying to kill him at that point, decided that depression was better.
she says,
He may return.
"Always a happy family, those Van Thampas."
They've all been charming. Amric
Well,
should be
they're
fine.
a bit happier now. 6 feet
Yeah.
under.
Yeah.
She says, "Is there anybody else alive in the villa that we should be worried about?"
The servants were fine. We last saw them under a table. We encouraged them to get out if they wanted to, but they expressed terror at the idea that Duke Van Thample would track them down and do hideous things. So if you see them, you can reassure them that that's no longer a problem.
I think the only other being was the bearded devil.
Oh yeah, there's a bearded devil in theory still guarding Amric.
Did we know about it, or was it only Palkas that knew?
Palkas told us.
Oh, okay.
He told you later. He didn't tell you immediately,
Yeah.
but he did tell
Okay,
you later.
my mind must have blanked on that, sorry.
You mentioned it at dinner last night, I think.
Mm-hmm.
She says, "If you don't mind, I will depart your company now and see to it that this bearded devil is tracked down and dispatched."
Whatever we find at Candlekeep will work.
She says, "I appreciate that," and she puts out her hand to you, Thorn, to shake your hand.
I
And
will
Look
shake
out,
that
he
hand.
stabs.
She says, Liara Portyr, I look forward to working with you.
It's our pleasure, Commander.
She's kind of like waiting for a name.
Thorn. Sorry. Thorn.
Okay. She says, it is a pleasure to work with you. She says, if you wait here, they will return with the horses and tack as needed. She says, but I think I would prefer to proceed to the villa right away, if unless you have any other information you would like to share with me.
How many horses are we getting?
7.
Okay.
1 each.
So she knows about the...
So are we still considered conscripts?
She says, if you want to be, she says, and she kind of like motions to some of the rabble. Like, are you asking her? Sorry, were you asking?
Yeah.
Okay. She motions to some of the like flaming fists who are currently like round by the gate, you know, and she says, you certainly seem to be able to handle yourself better than this bunch of brawlers.
I'll pull out the badge, but I'd rather not be associated with.
She says, for that, I don't blame you at all. She says, but I'm here to fix this. While we await Elder Ravengard's return, she says, I will be assuming command. She says, my uncle's presence is sorely missed.
Does she have the shadow of a devil?
So
Everybody has shadows of devils.
She does kind of take the badge back from you, Grimm, and says, I hope in the future the Flaming Fist can earn your respect again.
I prefer to live outside cities, but who knows?
She says, okay. Well, with that, I must depart. I think this bearded devil demands my attention immediately.
Good luck.
If you don't find Van Themper in the basement of their house, try what was that place called? The Stinky Dinghy?
The sewer.
No. That butt ugly boat that we found him on the first.
Oh, that place.
Says, the Low Lantern. She says, I'm familiar with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
She kind of summons the small group of soldiers that she has, and they all kind of quickly march out of the gate area.
She's lucky. She's really lucky. Thorn did not
What
kill
Thorn
her.
Indeed. It wasn't a surprise stab.
I think you mean Thorn didn't suicide.
Yeah, because I do have a feeling that Thorn would have like splattered himself across her armor more than anything.
Or he was extremely lucky and found one knife spot where we could actually stab.
Don't encourage it.
So, just like 5-10 minutes later, the remaining soldier shows up with the horses. One does look a little larger, like he was thinking of a certain half-orc. And
Is he saying I look fat?
and he will make sure that you have access to get through the gate as well. So if you're ready to depart, you can certainly do so.
Okay, I think we are.
Definitely ready to depart.
Yeah. Okay.
At least I am.
Yeah.
Coyra feels so well around these horses. She's just like, yes.
Okay.
Yes, Thorn's a country lad.
So as the gates open, as the basilisk gate opens,
The theme music plays.
the sun is just... No, I'm just kidding. The sun is high in the sky. The Flaming Fist soldiers are holding back this tide of Eltergardian refugees, and you cut a path through these wretched folk whose wails intensify as the basilisk gate closes behind you. And you see before you the dirt road is cutting through kind of the poorer area of the outer city, and past the walled neighborhood of Little Kalishan to the great span of Worm's Crossing. I don't think I have a closer map of Baldur's Gate, unfortunately, this area. But you would be most of you would be familiar enough with the geography of it that there's a road that kind of loops around this great hill that is directly to the east of this city of Baldur's Gate. So there are all these little kind of communities around the edge of this. So this road kind of goes in this arch shape and these little communities dotted along there. The biggest of which being Little Kalasham, which is actually kind of a walled, almost mini town kind of thing. And you can proceed through there, and as you're going past Little Kalasham, Philastophists does say that this is actually where the only residence that he has in the world is kind of in that area. And he does speak quite fondly of it. Talks about his favourite place to eat.
Do you want to like stop and get your things, or
water plants, something?
And he says, a man like me doesn't have house plants. He says, no, he says, what I have is sufficient. Thank you. He says, I'm more anxious to get on the road to Candlekeep than I am to stop for nostalgia.
Then on to the bridge and such.
Yep. So the bridge, Worm's Crossing, is this huge bridge. Actually, it's kind of two great bridges that meet in the middle of the river. And they kind of meet at this rocky little island. So they've, whoever built the bridge just chose a strategic spot so they didn't have to span the whole thing. They only need to span half of it. So, but these great bridges are kind of lined on both sides by buildings and merchant stalls, making it impossible actually to see the river once you get towards the bridge. And let's see, there's kind of some wooden drawbridges that are connecting the two bridges to the island. So when you get to that area, it kind of narrows. You have to go through, and it is just swarmed with people. Right, it's like shopping central plus all the business that's going on from the other buildings, and there's just people everywhere. It's like shoulder to shoulder. It's quite claustrophobic feeling, and you can kind of the rock or the little island in the center is called Worm's Rock, and you kind of can get through to that part and continue on. Is there anything anybody wants to stop for at any of these stalls, or you're all done shopping, I'm assuming?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I don't think there's anything else that we needed. I mean, we stocked up on food before we left the house.
Sure. Okay, so then 1 moment. So, Malvola, you do, as you're passing kind of over these great drawbridges, gone onto the center island, and you're passing on across the second of them onto the rest of the bridge, you do feel somebody tugging at your clothing, and yeah, it seems like somebody's trying to pick your pocket.
Okay. And I give them a shove with my...
Okay. Yeah, it's a kind of young adult. I mean, just like a kind of young man. And he just kind of like stumbles backwards, and quickly like picks himself up and kind of runs in the opposite direction, looking over his shoulder at you as he slips between the crowd into nothingness. So he, yeah, it's a street urchin.
Yeah.
So
That's a future backstory right there. Did you see that?
And so
I tried to rob one of the heroes that brought back the city from hell, and you kicked me. And I became... That's going to be the ultimate villain of this plot. I just created it right there.
Well done.
Let's do the time
and
Or you just kick your future new character if kashcah kills Grimm.
Yeah.
Malvola off.
So then you finish kind of crossing the bridge, and yeah, it's just shoulder to shoulder still the rest of the way. And then there's this small kind of village just across the bridge that you pass through, and finally seem to get to the end of like this built up area that you've been traveling through, and see an open road before you. Worms Crossing and Baldur's Gate are kind of disappearing from your view, and you find yourself heading down the coastway, the dirt road that is going to lead you to Candlekeep. It's a 5-day journey, and coming up the road towards you is a human farmer riding on the front of a hay-filled wagon pulled by 2 draft horses. The farmer gives you a friendly wave as the wagon draws near. And I take it you're all riding your horses at this point?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Might as well.
Okay.
Well, I'm not carrying it, if that's what you
Yeah.
mean.
So you do have to it's a dirt road, right? There's enough kind of
I would move to the side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
So you
Move out of his way.
Okay. So you all kind of pull off to the side, and this hay-filled wagon, he's got these big stacks of like hay up on the back of the wagon, and a bunch of loose hay in between the bales as well, and you can see it kind of bouncing along, and looks almost a little precarious, like one of those bales that you're sure is going to fall sooner or later. And the wagon gets kind of most of the way past you when the farmer says a word in Infernal, which takes you all by surprise. And the farmer calls out, now. And
we're all like, good day, isn't it? And he's all like,
I knew the elaborate description was leading up to something bad.
I was thinking, like, man, this is just way too lame.
Yeah, it's like, really? I mean, just the way she's describing it, I want to set the hay bale on fire, but...
I mean, I would have tried something, but you're so down on Thorn stabbing.
Well, if we were sure that he was just a regular, Mm-hmm. But in this case, feel free to stab away.
So the farmer, as he's shouting now in Infernal, pushes himself up from, you know, his kind of lazy kind of position at the front of the wagon, and immediately lets go of the reins that he had from the horses and takes on a different form completely. You just see him kind of like shed this like this visage of farmer, you know, with you know, a little thing of wheat sticking out of his mouth.
He's
just
not a farmer.
His visage just like
Yeah,
dissipates away from him, and he launches himself into the air, and he looks like this.
Oh, joy.
So he launches
It's
himself
Steve
into...
Buscemi.
Shit.
And as he's doing that, 3 humans launch themselves and leap out of the hay wagon. There's this like flurry of like hay flying everywhere as these 3 armored kind of humans leap from the hay wagon.
Fly, you fools.
And they all are armed with long swords that you see they have ready in their hands. And I think that's where we'll stop.
Okay.
Cliffhangers! Yeah!
Yeah.
We didn't have one last week, so, you know, overdue for a cliffhanger. Plus, this gives me time to set up a battle mat.
That's one wicked looking
true.
farmer, I tell you what.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty cool, isn't he?
Yeah,
So,
if I grow up to be a farmer, I want to look like that.
Those
Is
devil
that a
shadows
farmer's
is
tan
the
or a
evil.
sunburn?
All right. Well, with that, we will be ending it here. So tune in next time for further adventures of Who's That Farmer? And hopefully we'll see you then. We've got more D&D.
Is this like Blind Date, but with bad guys?
We've got more D&D tomorrow, but that will be a different campaign with different players. So if we don't see you then, we'll see you next week. So bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye!
Bye.
Thank you for coming.